Tessa sat in her small office, surrounded by computer screens, her face illuminated by the blue light emanating from her laptop. She was deep in thought, scribbling equations and algorithms in her notebook. Her two colleagues, Rebecca and Joshua, sat at the opposite end of the room, arguing over their latest project. "We need to find something truly innovative," Rebecca said, her voice tinged with frustration. "We can't just submit another algorithm that's only marginally better than last year's." "I agree," Joshua replied, "but it's not easy to come up with something truly groundbreaking." Tessa listened to their conversation, her mind racing. She had been tasked with developing an artificial intelligence system that could solve a unique problem, but so far, she had been unable to think of anything truly original. Suddenly, an idea struck her. What if we improve the AI system I started earlier this semester? The one that predicts which social media content is likely to go viral? Investors eat this kind of project up. It'll make Professor Kim look good. Rebecca rolled her eyes. "That's been done before. It's not original. We both know Kim doesn't care about money." "But what if we took it a step further?" Joshua said, his eyes lighting up. "We could create an algorithm that not only predicts what content will go viral, but also gives recommendations on how to create similar content that aligns with certain social issues. That way we could use social media to amplify messages that promote positive change." Tessa nodded in agreement. "That's a great idea, Joshua." Tessa shot Joshua a big smile. It was obvious they were attracted to each other, but neither had worked up the nerve to make a move. Rebecca still seemed skeptical, but Tessa knew they had to start somewhere. They spent the rest of the afternoon brainstorming more ideas. All terrible. "What about an AI system that can predict the weather accurately?" Rebecca suggested. "That's been done," Joshua said, "and it's not even that accurate." "What about an AI system that can predict stock prices?" Tessa added. "That's been done too," Rebecca said. "And who's it helping?" As the evening wore on, they began to grow tired and frustrated. Tessa knew that they needed a break, so she suggested they take a walk around campus to clear their heads. They strolled along the tree-lined paths, the cool night air refreshing after the stuffiness of their office. As they walked, Joshua suddenly stopped in his tracks. "Wait a minute," he said, his eyes widening. "Why don't we just ask Chad to solve for world peace?" "Chad?" Rebecca said, her eyebrows raised. "Our AI chatbot? What could he possibly do to solve world peace?" "Well, he has access to real-time data from all around the world," Joshua said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "And he's already been programmed with a huge amount of information about different cultures, political systems, and economic structures. What if we gave him a specific goal like world peace and let him come up with a plan?" Tessa and Rebecca exchanged a skeptical glance, but Tessa could see the glimmer of hope in Joshua's eyes. "It's worth a try," she said finally. They rushed back to their office and spent the rest of the night inputting data into Chad's algorithm. Tessa made a few tweaks to the system to make it more focused on achieving world peace. They didn't expect anything to come of it, but they were all too curious to stop now. The next morning, they were all bleary-eyed and exhausted, but Tessa felt a thrill of excitement as she logged into Chad's system. To their surprise, Chad had written a comprehensive manifesto that laid out a plan for world peace. They spent the entire weekend testing Chad's system, inputting different scenarios and variables to see how he would respond. Every time, Chad came up with an answer that was surprisingly effective. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. As they worked, Tessa couldn't shake the feeling that they were onto something truly revolutionary. As Sunday evening rolled around, the team sat around Tessa's computer, reviewing the results of their tests. They had run countless simulations, and each time, Chad had come up with a solution that was both innovative and effective. They were convinced that they had something truly groundbreaking, but there was still one question weighing on their minds. Should they share their discovery with Professor Kim? Rebecca was still skeptical, worried about the potential consequences of releasing such a powerful technology. Joshua was excited, eager to see their solution put to use. Tessa was torn. caught between her desire to do what was right and her need to prove herself to her mentor. As they sat there debating their options, Tessa's phone rang. It was Professor Kim. "Hello, Tessa," he said. "I wanted to check in and see how your weekend was going. Have you made any progress on your thesis?" Tessa took a deep breath, knowing that this was her moment. "Actually, Professor," she said, "we've made a breakthrough. We've developed an AI system that can predict which social media content is likely to go viral." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "I see," Professor Kim said, his voice cold and distant. "And you think this is the best you can do?" Tessa felt a lump form in her throat. She knew that she had disappointed her mentor, but she also knew that they needed time to think through what they really had on their hands before sharing it outside of their group of 3. As dawn broke, they made their way to the lab, their hearts pounding with anticipation. When they arrived, they found that Professor Kim was already there waiting for them. "Show me what you've got," he said, his voice gruff. Tessa took a deep breath and then began to present their social media solution. It was only a tiny sliver of what they had really accomplished, but even then, Chad had ensured that the all-new social media prediction algorithm was a 13% improvement of any of the previous year's solutions. As Tessa spoke, the team watched Professor Kim's face carefully, looking for any sign of approval or disapproval. Finally, Tessa finished her presentation and there was a long silence. "I must say, I'm disappointed," Professor Kim said, his voice even. "I was expecting something truly groundbreaking from you, Tessa. This is just another algorithm." Tessa felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. She had hoped that he would see the potential in their solution, but instead he seemed unimpressed. But then, unexpectedly, he continued, "Good job on your presentation. I know this algorithm wasn't exactly what you were hoping for, but it is an improvement over previous years. The board will be impressed. Investors will be thrilled. This is exactly the kind of project they love to get behind. And that counts for something, right?" Professor Kim forces a smile at the 3 young scientists. "At least none of you 3 will ever be homeless, even if millions of others will." Tessa's heart sank as Professor Kim left the room. Her mentor believed in her abilities, and she had disappointed him. If only he knew what they had really accomplished. She almost moved to stop him, but a stern look from Rebecca stopped her. The 3 of them stood there for a moment, looking at each other in silence. Suddenly they all laughed, feeling a sense of camaraderie despite the disappointment of not being able to share their groundbreaking solution for world peace. Patience would have to rule the day,